Hello and welcome to episode number 30. Are we going to be dirty and 30 or are we just going to be 30?
Well,
30 and
I'm not
flirty?
30 in real years yet, so I'm reserving all my 30 for 30 energy for 2 years' time.
Oh my God, you have literally devastated me now. 30 is a distant memory for me. How about you, Mark?
Even further for me. Yeah, 20
Well,
years
Yeah,
it's
past that
approaching
now.
me
So
with a sense of sort of impending doom. I'm not one to actually give much thought to birthdays, but that one seems pretty significant looming on the horizon.
do you know what?
uh,
I've not had a age niggle yet. When one of my friends hit 30, she had a proper meltdown. Took 30 in my stride, wasn't bothered by 40. So I'm hoping I'm the same when I hit 50 in 2 years' time.
yeah, see, 50 is the one that's just caught me a little bit. It was like, got to January, my birthday, and then I suddenly just felt old within about a few hours. It was like, oh God, I'm 50. That's it, done.
Yeah.
30,
I,
40,
I,
sailed through, no problem at all. 50 was like, oh God.
the big shock, Mark, which my father went through in the last 12 months or so, was getting his over 60 bus pass.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're still 10 years off that, so don't worry.
You're fine, you're fine. And I had promised myself I had an epic party when I was 40. I had celebrate the 80s party when I was 40 and everybody dressed up. My mum came as Boy George, which was epic. I went as slightly chunky Madonna in the Like a Virgin video. John went as Run DMC. It was quite funny. My brother went as Vivian from the Young Ones. And we had a bit of a party. But I think for 50, I'm going to do a 90s old school rave.
Oh, nice.
Nice, that's fun.
I
Yeah.
think it's going to be
Neon.
done. You,
Yeah.
you're welcome to come. My birthday's in June, so it's always a good time of year.
Does that mean I come in a diaper then? Because that's what I was doing in the 90s. I don't know why I just said diaper as well when I'm not American.
You're not
No.
American. Let's move on from that now. Let's go.
The
I was
shame.
arguing with someone, talking of that, I was arguing with someone today about curb and curb. And I had to explain, no, curb in UK is KERB. We're not curb as in CURB like the Americans. And there's a whole thing. Um, but apparently, American kids are starting to watch Love Island and they're starting to use words like flummox, bollocks, mate. And it's really British slang words are really seeping into American culture,
It's just
and they're using
jarring.
trousers now instead of pants and stuff. So
Oh
that's
man.
amused me greatly.
Trying to
Um,
picture a sort of Californian American say bollocks is it's
they
not
can't.
computing in my brain. I
Yeah,
can't
there's some
imagine
swear
that.
words that just don't translate to American, is there?
No.
It
I know
just
it's the same
doesn't.
language, but it doesn't translate to the voice that's speaking it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't. It's not there for me. Um, but I suppose we've got to talk about Saturday. Really,
Mm, yeah.
I'm still slightly heartbroken.
I'm having an
Um,
all right week actually. I think that it's because I chose not to watch the game back, which I'd usually do
I didn't.
every time if I've been and watched it in the stadium. I'll always go back and try and watch it again, but I haven't done that this week, and
I
I've been
couldn't.
happier for it.
Like I said to Sam, all he had to do was just watch somebody run into a brick wall constantly, and he would have
Yeah.
had the gist of the game pretty much.
I
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it to myself yesterday, and then I thought about it today, and I was like, can't do it to myself today either, if I'm being honest. Um, I did get a snuggle with Keith, your t-shirt buddy,
This Keith.
after the match. Um, he did say to me he was slightly sweaty, slightly knackered, and I was like, I don't mind, come in for a selfie, mate. Um, it it was some big hits going on, wasn't there?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, don't know if you've seen the pictures of training today. Jack Morgan's eye is like out here.
Mhm.
And he's got a weird black headband on, which has reminded me of Zoolander. No, the one
Right.
with he's got the headband on
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
does the.
Hmm.
It's like that. So that did make me think of that. Um, it was the one I know.
Yeah.
Rod, your dragons game. I am very much now. Yeah, that could have been so different. If we'd just made a few different decisions, taken some points, not missed the conversion. Um, but it was brutal. I don't know, like I know your side was going nuts at certain points. Rod, our side was going nuts. Um, no disrespect to Leon, but they lived offside on Saturday and blatantly so. Now, I'm not, I can't blame the ref, I can't whatever. I don't think we were mentally there on Saturday. I think we came off second best and we didn't adapt to their style of play. We didn't try anything different to try and get behind them. We just tried the up your jumper stuff and it did not work for us at all. Some very, very tired, bashed up boys at the end of that on Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can fault the effort of the players. I mean,
No,
they were absolutely spent by 60 minutes, I would say, probably. The subs came on and the players that went off could barely walk, I think, some of them because they've been exerted so much effort, I think, into that game. But like I said, the Leon defense was just rock solid constantly. They took their opportunities when they needed to. I mean, I think stats were something like Leon had 80 odd tackles in the game to our, oh sorry,
100 and
we had
something.
80 odd tackles to their 200 and something tackles. Shows how much possession we had, how much of the ball we had, but couldn't do anything with it. And we just looked a little bit devoid of ideas. The game plan was obviously to take them on physically, which didn't work. And we didn't seem to have a plan B to get around them, to get behind them. And it was just, as you say, trucking up constantly in the forwards, especially put in a hell of a shift. The centres, Keith carried like a Trojan, as he always does, but they were hitting the gain line and being hit back at the gain
Yeah.
line.
So much ball lost in contact as well, which we don't
Yeah.
see a lot of. So much ball spillage. Um,
I mean,
Rod, your thoughts?
we'll get on to attendances in a bit, but I did my civic duty as an Ospreys fan, and I dragged along a new fan for a quarter-final game, potentially a history maker. And he turns to me halfway through and he said, "There's absolutely no flair here on either side, really." But his
Yeah.
comment was pointed at the Ospreys. He said, "There's just no flair," and I said,
Yeah,
"Mate, you should have seen us 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. You should have seen us against Glasgow and some bits against Leinster." And it was so disappointing that, yeah, it was so flat, wasn't it? I think that's probably
yeah,
the word that describes it the best. I feel flat now as a supporter, but the performance was a bit flat as well.
yeah,
Just very
And I think,
disappointed. Another quarter-final loss
I know.
to suck up.
I think what killed us a little bit as well, we had the ascendancy in the scrum in the first half, which looked like it might be a route to win the game.
yeah,
And then they brought on a ruck of subs at half time, and their scrum just looked like a completely different beast second half. And I think we lost a bit of heart from that as well, because that was an area where we could dominate and look like we were going to win penalties from, possibly force some yellow cards for them as well.
I don't
I think we were
understand
unlucky there. We were
the
unlucky
lack of
not.
yellow cards.
Yes, yeah. I can't remember who said it, but somebody was saying how on another day with a different ref, they would have been penalising those moments because it was the one part of the game that we had that dominance, wasn't it? And
Mm,
and it was overwhelming them at points, but it led to nothing. It led to no advantage for us, which felt a bit unfair, particularly in hindsight. But that's rugby, isn't it?
it is. It's one of those. It's one of those things, isn't it? Um, Concerning for me. Um, Tips coming off so early.
Mm.
Absolutely praying that that is not the last hurrah for him because that would be awful for him, awful for the fans. Um, Mark, you said it looked like he'd come down awkward.
Just looked completely innocuous. He just went up for a line out, landed, and I think just sort of turned on it or landed a bit awkwardly. Nothing more than that. No sort of contact from what I could see at all. So hopefully just sort of a bit of a muscle injury potentially. That won't be too bad. I wouldn't have thought we'll see him this weekend. They'll probably try and rest him up
Yeah,
for his big farewell next, or the following weekend rather. But yeah, no news has come out, I don't think, about the injury.
no, not yet.
So hopefully it's just a twist or a turn that can be healed and just get a few, get 60, 70 minutes out of him the week after next, maybe.
Yeah, and obviously we used all our bench and we were down to 14. towards the end because there were no we'd used all our substitutes. There was nothing else that we could do, which is a shame in those last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have snatched, you know, victory from the jaws of defeat, couldn't we?
Yeah.
If we could have pulled something off, but there's no way you're going to do that with 14 men against those man mountains. One of them actually walked into the nest by mistake afterwards on Saturday night. Huge.
Mm.
Built like a brick shit house. Absolutely huge.
And
I
with
think
a
the
budget of
reaction. Sorry, go
40
on.
million, 40 million euros, Leon's budget is.
Yeah,
That's one of the highest budgets of any rugby team on the planet.
Mm.
Um, with money like that, you can pick a trait and you can just go, we're going to fill our team with absolute lumps, and money is no question, is it? So yeah, yeah. In one respect, if you look at it like that, there's only one way the game's going to go. So I think we were almost not punching above our weight, but we were fighting in a different class to
yeah.
some degree. Yeah.
Well, we were featherweight, they were heavyweight, weren't they? If we're looking
Yeah.
at it in those terms.
And
Um,
30% of the time, the featherweight wins that fight because they've got ways around that. They've got the speed, they got the agility, But if you get sucker punched and their defense was that sucker punch against us, and we didn't, find a creative way around that, then we're going to get knocked on our asses. And
yeah,
I
we
know it's a
needed that
close
there.
score, but there was moments where we was just going absolutely nowhere. And I don't think maybe I don't want to be too harsh, but some of the players on the pitch didn't have the answers in that moment. But it also felt that maybe there wasn't a huge amount of direction coming from off the field, from the stands, from the coach's box either. Um, Obviously, they would have been having their input, but maybe some of the choices and the substitutions and the timings of those could have been a bit more
But
knockout rugby orientated rather than just,
dynamic.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think some of
adaptive
those
and
decisions, like you said, in terms of, initially after the game, I think the feeling from those of us who were on Twitter and stuff straight after the game was there were some penalties that were kickable that we turned down, one towards the end of the first half, few beginning of the second half. Um, hindsight's amazing, isn't it? If we'd kicked those
Yeah.
kicks, there's nothing to say that Leon wouldn't have come up at the other end of the pitch and scored again. We could have driven over some of those lineouts in different circumstances as
Mm.
well. you know, I don't know. I've sort of softened on that a little bit. I think straight after the game, it was, knockout rugby, take the points when they're there. I think that was my sort of stance at the end of the game. But then the last few days, just sort of, considering things a bit more, when you're on the field, you've got a team pinned down for 15, 20 minutes close to their goal line. You want as many points as you can get from that circumstance. I think that's what Ospreys went for, the corner or I think the one in the second half where they went for a tap penalty was a little bit of a strange decision.
Yeah.
We could have put them down for a scrum potentially, because the one thing we couldn't do was run at the line and get any sort of purchase from them at all. So to choose to run at them a little bit more clearly wasn't going to be the best tactic to go with then. But otherwise, you
Yeah.
can't criticize many of the other decisions we made. To be honest, they're on the field decisions. You're going for the maximum that you can, I suppose.
there
I
is
think it's
something you can criticize though. Sorry, Sam, do you have something final on that? Because I'm going to veer in a different
yeah,
direction.
for me, it's one of those, it's the old adage, in it, do you take the points so you seem like you're lacking ambition, or do you throw it balls to the wall and be like, this is it? And I think depending on where I am within the game and what type of game it is will depend on which option I will take. But I'm very much of, if you're in knockout rugby, take the points where you can.
Mm.
Um, but I get why they took the decisions they did. I get it. I understand. Um, but yeah, it came back to bite us, unfortunately.
Hmm. I think if we had played that game in the Brewery Field, we would have won it.
Crowd would have been too
What I'm
hostile for them.
saying, what I'm saying by that is essentially we were lacking that 16th man. Um, and if there's one thing that we can be critical of, it is our support at the moment and our supporters. Quarter-final of Europe, this historical competition, everything on the line essentially for half of our season, and we pulled what, under
Three and a
4,000
half thousand, yeah.
supporters at the Liberty. It's massively disappointing in Swansea second city, and I think our fans have got to show up because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable, and it's sad for the players. It's sad for the fans who make the effort. It's sad for the players when they finish the game and they're looking up at the crowd and it looks like dregs.
Class.
Yeah. And I think had we played that in the Brewery Field with 6 or 7 thousand, or had we pulled, a similar number at the Liberty, I think that could have been the missing element that would have just pushed the boys over the line.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
we've got to be held accountable for that. Why aren't people dragging along new viewers to our sport to watch the team that we love? So many people are just like sitting on their asses at home watching and thinking that that's enough. Well, it's not, and
It's not.
the weekend proved it. So I think some people need to do some reflecting. And I'm just going to stop talking because then my blood pressure's
Rod's on
rising.
his soapbox. It's usually me. But you're right. Engagement does need to be there, and I'm really hoping that picks up when we go to St Helens. Anybody else got any thoughts on Saturday?
Reece Davis's injury is a pity.
Mm,
He
I
had a
spoke
massive
to him
game.
afterwards.
Yeah, he had a massive game against
Um,
Spurs the week before, and then looked good on Saturday as well. Went through a lot of work again.
yeah.
But yeah, such a shame. You see, spoke to him, Sam.
my brother actually works with his dad. So um, I saw him coming out of the stadium, boot on crutches. Um, and he indicated that he'd have to go for x-rays and scans and stuff on Monday morning, but they suspected it might be a surgery job again.
Mm,
Um, he got in the car with his girlfriend. He just looked gutted. I wanted to hug him.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I was speaking to his mum, and his mum was saying he's fought so hard to come back from the last one. He's been going to the gym. He's missed stag do's. He's missed, family occasions. He's been going to the gym. He's been swimming. You can see the change in the lad's shape, to be fair. He's put the hard yards in. So for me, like we were talking about bigger last week, he's put in the effort in, he's put in the work in to be the best he can be. And I do think he would have been a shoe-in for the Japan tour.
Mm.
So, fingers crossed it's not as bad as initially thought. I saw Morgan Morse as well. Um, he had a boot on, but he wasn't on crutches. Um,
Okay.
he
Did he
said,
get pulled off in the game?
yeah,
Oh Christ, yeah. I probably should have watched the game back.
yeah. But he said it was just a shin knock, and he thought that he would be quite okay, but the boot was precaution. Um, yeah. So fingers crossed that it's not as bad as we think it is.
And of
Um,
course, Adam Beard as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, another big.
Um, yeah. And considering we're going into the business end now, where we've got
Mm.
games against Cardiff, Dragons, and out in South Africa, we don't want to be in that position where injuries are letting us down again. But on more cheerful points, I had a cracking day Saturday on the selfies front.
You did.
Absolutely amazing. Spoke
Who
to
else
Ryan
did you get
Combier and
then?
Hugh Sutton.
Ah, nice, nice.
Ryan was saying he's all good, he's not injured. It's just that the team are playing so well at the moment. He's not got to lock in, and that he'd stand more chance if he was also a full back. And he said, but
He's stand more
unfortunately, I'm
chance.
not tall enough.
I was going to say he's stand more chance if he's back in Scarlet.
Yeah. So laughed at that. Then obviously met Keith when he came afterwards. But I met a childhood hero of mine. Rod, you've seen me asking for a selfie. I got no shame. You know that.
Yeah.
I could not ask Alan Bateman for a selfie. I couldn't do it. I was genuinely starstruck and lost for words. Him and
Yeah.
John Devereux, I was just staring. And my friend Neil was like, I grew up in my stig. I know Alan, I'll ask him for you. And I was like, no, no, no. And then he did. Do you know what? What a lovely, he was literally the best. Like, no Squidge and James are like mad about tips.
Mhm.
That was me with Alan Bateman in like the 90s.
He was superb player and hard as nails as well, Alan Bateman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lovely. And he told me I didn't look 47. He was like, how would you even know who I am? You're not old enough. I was like, I'm
I mean,
47. He was like, shut up, you're early 30s. I was like, you can stay. Um,
step aside, John.
yeah, I was like, ah, beat it. Um, and then I had a nice little chat with Debbie out in the car park.
Mhm.
He knew my name,
Impressive.
called me by my name, didn't even have to remind him. And he gave me such a nice hug
Oh,
when he walked away. And I was like, oh, I want to be your mum. You know, you wouldn't be that tall if you came from me because I'm 5'2", but other than that, like I did have a nice day Saturday with my mates and stuff and like
yeah.
seeing people. Saw Nick as well. I also have to give a shout out to a guy called Gareth that I met in the Nest. He comes to every home game. He brings his kids and he comes from Reading.
Wow.
And he was
Really?
listening to the pod on the way down.
Oh, amazing.
So I want to say hello to Gareth because I promised Gareth I'd say hello to him on pod. And I made a note because I'm old and I forget stuff. So Gareth Stewart, hello. And I'd also like to say hello to your little girls, Grace, Pippa, Rihanna, and Edith. Now, Rod, you've got a bit of a Edith and Ozzy are friends.
Ooh.
Edith and
Ooh.
Ozzy buds.
Oh,
Ozzy did a signed picture for Edith with the love Ozzy on it. You ain't got one of those. Edith
no, I
has.
haven't. I got
No?
competition.
You're not going to
Edith
have beef
sounds
with the
hard
7-year
though.
old now, are you?
I don't know if I want to mess with this 7-year-old. She sounds,
And they got a flag with the Ospreys logo on with pictures of them with Ozzy on.
oh, they're
Big flag.
proper fans.
Proper fans. So they're Aussie super fans. You're just a dalliance with Aussie, you are. So lovely to meet you, Gareth. Your commitment to the Ospreys, that's what we need more of. That's what Rod's talking about. So if you can
Yeah,
do a 2.5 round journey, if you're 20 minutes down the road, what's your excuse?
yeah. That's
You ain't
commendable,
got
to be
one.
honest. If I
You
go
ain't
into
got
every
one.
home game, fair dues, fair dues.
Yeah,
Um,
and he brings the kids.
yeah,
Mum's in Swansea, I believe, but still, he comes down.
yeah.
So, this weekend, Mark, you've dropped a boo-boo.
I have. I've managed to double book myself for Saturday. So rather than watching us play Cardiff on Saturday, I'm going to be probably finding Easter eggs in the garden with Becky's family, while trying to ignore the score. And yeah, so big mistake on my part. I've got the Keith t-shirt made and everything ready for
Big
Saturday,
men.
and I'll have to wear it out in a party where everybody will go and who the hell's Keith. So
Well, educate them. Just be
I
like,
will have
listen,
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And it's not Cardiff anymore, Mark. It's the WR Blues.
Oh yeah, true.
WRU Blues. Um, we'll get on to that in a minute. Um, so we got Judgment Day. Ospreys Cardiff first up. I believe it's a 2:30 kickoff, followed by Dragon Scarlet. Um, it's a bit of a, I think it's anyone's game on Saturday because Matt Sherritt came out and said about the mental shock to the players this week of what happened last week and how it's shaken them a little bit, which could be jiggery pokery, but I don't get that from him. And obviously, we're coming off the back of a rather bruising defeat against Lyon. So I think it's anybody's game on Saturday, but ticket sales are not that amazing. So
No,
less
not
than
agreed.
20,000.
Which is even more galling when Bristol have sold 45,000 of
45.
them to play Bath a few weeks later. Yeah, not great, is it? I mean, to be fair, I mean, I've seen a lot of people, and I can't disagree with them, to be honest, saying about Judgment Day generally. I've been to 4 or 5 Judgment Days. It's
Yeah.
not the most enjoyable day out. My experience tends to be a load of pissed up people that are getting up and forth to the toilet constantly, um, in a fairly empty stadium with no atmosphere. Um, yeah, I would rather just play the games at home and have a decent crowd at home for those games instead.
There's no
Personally.
entertainment there either. Like I know they got the stick men from the guys who wore the neon stick suit things that
Yeah,
did the
the
halftime
rugby
show
one.
for women.
Yeah.
Six Nations, Wales, England, um, they usually get Josh Navidi out to DJ. Now, I'm going to sound a bitch now. He's not all that in a bag of spanners. Now, I can
We know
say
your
this.
feelings.
I can say this because I've seen all, like, I was a bit of a clubber when I was younger. So I've seen Carl Cox, Pete Tong, Armin van Buren. I've been to Ibiza. I've seen the big DJs. No,
The question
I
is,
have.
is he
I'm
better
of an
than James
age.
Haskell? Is he better than Haskell is the question. Because he's like the England DJ,
They're
isn't
both
he? The
shit.
England rugby DJ.
No
Rug
offense.
DJ.
Um, but and that's coming from someone who has done like super clubs and has gone to like ministry and whatever. I know I don't look it, but I was a bit of a raver. Um, so I think there needs to be more engagement there for kids and adults alike, to make it a rugby festival and a celebration of rugby. Um, Looking at teams, because it's Easter bank holiday weekend. You think it'd be a good weekend for people to take their kids and make it an affordable
Yeah.
day out. Do you know what I mean? You could do loads of stuff with the mascots, and I think there's so much you can do with it. Um, but we'll see how it goes on Saturday. I'm going up with all my crew because for us it's technically a home game, so we
That's
get
probably the only reason I'm going, is because, we're lacking the home advantage and I'm bitter about it. So I'm going to go along and shout my ass off instead.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'll be there. Um, Rod's also going to be there. I should also have our black feather hoodies.
I'm well excited for that.
I can't wait. John has seen pictures of them. All she was waiting to do was do the little logos on the front. So he's picking them up from her tomorrow. So Mark, I will post yours up to you along with stickers that I get from Rod
Thank
on
you.
Saturday. But I set you a challenge on Saturday about stickers and you didn't do it.
What did you ask me to do again? Stick people.
Stick it on people, but also give one to someone.
I must admit, I got a little bit pissed on the weekend.
Really? You surprised me. Um,
Well,
but
I had that guy that I took with me. Is my cousin's boyfriend. And he just kept buying me pints, and I weren't going to say no. So I
do you think
stumbled up
he's going to
the
be
day.
interested in a season ticket? In the sin
Yeah, yeah,
bin with
yeah.
you?
I've already sent him the link for the £50 deposit, and he might be coming back next season. He was an Ospreys fan in his childhood growing up. It had been 10 years since he'd last seen a game. And
Come back.
despite how, well, in his words, how much there was, how lacking in flair the game was, yeah, I think he enjoyed himself. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see him come back. He's excited about the prospect of St. Helens as well. And he hadn't heard about it. He didn't even know that the Ospreys were
Really?
moving to St. Helens. And,
Wow.
he's Swansea boy through and through, rugby
We
fan.
literally have to bang on this drum now, don't we? We bang
Yeah,
on the drum.
Mm.
Um,
yeah.
Ozzy said I can bang the drum at the Dragons game.
Are we
And
going
the
to
brass
see an
band as well.
original tune then? Or a different
Um,
tune?
I might do Basement Jacks. Bingo, bingo, bing, 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 bingo.
What can you do
Do,
on just like
maybe.
a monotone drum? Oh, you could do Mission Impossible. Boom,
Do,
boom,
bum,
boom,
bum,
boom,
bum,
boom.
bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I have actually got quite a good sense of rhythm. I used to play the cello when I was in school. Um, Again, random fact about Sam.
You join the band next time with your cello.
Well, yeah. Um, but I think Saturday should be fun, mainly because of the people that I'm with. Anybody who's interested, Brewdog are doing £1.80 pints over the weekend
Well, we
for
don't give
Punk
free
IPA.
advertising to them though.
I'm not
They
a fan of.
Unless they want to sponsor us as well. Despite
No,
their
we don't want to
their
be
their
sponsored by
dubious
them.
credentials, but
yes, yeah.
Um, John's an equity punk because they're from Aberdeen. I've actually been to the Brewdog Brewery in Aberdeen, um, but I don't particularly stand with their ethos. So, you know, um, but £1.80 a pint, you can't go wrong, really. So I booked a table for some food in there. Rod, let me know if you want to add on. I'll sort that. Team announcement, we're probably not expecting that till Friday lunchtime again, a week as if it being bank holiday.
Could
So
be
as soon as
very,
we've got
very
that, then
interesting with
yeah, be interesting to see that.
after the last 2 weeks. I think there's
Yeah.
two very stark choices, aren't there? You either send out the same team, hammer them for one more week, and then rest everybody against the Dragons the week after, um, or rest people this weekend and sort of do a sort of a half and half, I suppose. Rest some of the squad this weekend, and then rest
Yeah,
the others against the Dragons the week after, and then go full ball for the last two out in South Africa.
Mm.
The pack is what I'm worried about more than anything else on Saturdays, whether that pack can step up for a third week running after two bruising physically but also emotionally encounters as well.
Well,
yeah,
three of them are going to have to be rotated because they're injured anyway. So
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
probably the amount of refreshment that that pack needs anyway. Three, maybe four players yeah, bring some fresh energy in.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
you would
hope that we've got the
expect
depth there coming back.
yeah.
Sorry, Mark.
No, I was going to say you would expect Fender to come in to that
Yeah.
team on Saturday. Ratty, if he is fit, possibly. Spencer
Hmm.
looks like he's back to fitness as well, although he has been injured. Particularly, I think it's just been a case of getting him up to speed a little bit. So
Yeah,
we
he
have
was
got
warming
three
up on the
locks.
weekend, wasn't he?
saw
Yeah,
training pictures of him today as well on
yeah.
Instagram.
Okay.
So there are three
Um,
locks potentially. Whether Jack Morgan can do another stint on Saturday, I don't know. Or whether we bring him off the bench and start Deves maybe on Saturday,
Yeah.
because he's
didn't
been
see
chomping
Jeeves
at
in
the
the
bit.
training pics.
Is he still not?
Don't know. I've got some feelers out trying to find out.
Because he would be
Mm.
Um,
chomping at the bit, would need to start on Saturday after a
Yes. Yeah.
best
yeah,
part of the month out.
Yeah.
Morse, I was going to say to start for Morgan Morris, but if Morse is injured, then I guess Morgan Morris will have to start again.
yeah.
Tristan Davis is back training as
Yeah.
well today, so he could be a shout for the back row potentially. Um, I don't think we can rest the whole of the back three that was shown in the first game against the Scarlets, but maybe we need to rotate a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
saying about Conbeer earlier on, whether he comes in for either Cassende or Giles,
Yeah,
just to give one of them a rest. And the two
Yeah.
centres have been absolute workhorses over the past, well, the whole season really, haven't they?
they've done 12 months worth of rugby and they coming off the Curry Cup, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So whether, you know, Owen Williams comes into one of those centre positions possibly Saturday as well to give Keith a rest, possibly. I think there will be rotation. There has to be rotation after the
Yeah.
last fortnight.
Yeah,
But it is crucial now, isn't it? Our season suddenly overnight feels like it's in the balance. It's hanging on a thread, and I went from a really optimistic place last week, mere days ago, and now it feels like it's all just slipping away. So, whatever we do, we've just got to win the next game, and then the next game, and then the next game.
just take
Obviously,
it game by game.
yeah, yeah, and base it on the fitness and the fatigue of the players. If they need rotated out, rotate them out. Don't almost try to play 4D chess, thinking about next week and the future opposition. Just go who's in the best position to put out a performance this week and do the same again next week, in my opinion.
Well, I did some figuring on Judgment Day because I think Judgment Day is going to be keen in the race to the eighth on URC. Dragons, they're not there, so we won't go into too much about them. Scarlets are in 11th place. They're 3 points adrift of where they need to be in reality to stand a fighting chance. They need maximum points from Dragons on Saturday. But the reality is then they got Leinster and they got Lions and Sharks. So for them to be in with a shout, they need to be winning 3 out of 4 of those with max points, really.
How good
Interest,
would it be if Dragons pulled one over
Oh,
on
I know.
Scarlets this weekend? That would just be like the perfect scenario for us, wouldn't it?
I'm supporting them. I'm supporting Dragons this weekend.
Yeah, yeah.
Tempted to get myself a shirt in the sale because it's like 20 quid.
I might get
But
like a beanie off Vinted or something, a Dragon's beanie.
do it, do it, do it. Um,
Or if you're listening, Jamie from the Dragon's Lair, you know that dustbin outside the stadium. I don't know what I'm talking about. Leave your kit in there, and I'll pick it up on my way in.
okay, this is sounding rather like drug drops, but hey ho. Um, Interesting, obviously, between Cardiff and us, because although Cardiff are ninth, then they're level with Edinburgh on points, but
Mhm.
there is a points difference, which means Edinburgh's above them. Um, their run to the eight. The eight is us, Munster, Bulls, and Stormers. So they've got to win at least two of those minimum to stand a chance.
And
Munster, I think, going to be
Edinburgh,
hurt after the weekend.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
and Edinburgh got through obviously on in Europe on the weekend, so
yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to have that almost disadvantage of being pulled in two directions at the moment, not knowing what to commit to, like we were. So yeah, it's hard to predict what they're really going to do, isn't it? They haven't got as much
yeah,
depth as Glasgow, so we may see that they just sort of allow the URC to drift a bit whilst they pursue Europe.
yeah. And then, interestingly, we're 12th, so we're 3 points beneath. Oh, we're three places beneath Cardiff, but we're only 3 points off the eighth.
Hmm.
So we really need to beat Cardiff and the Dragons, and then head to South Africa against Sharks and Lions. Now we know we can go there and win. We did it last year when nobody was expecting us to. So I do think the Saturday is one of those where if we can, we need to win that. We need to win it comfortably and we need to win it with a bonus point.
Yeah. And I
Mhm.
think looking at the points difference as well on the league table so far, we've got a lower points difference than most of the teams in the, immediately
Yeah,
above us that we're going to be jostling with. So if we are getting to the last game of the season and we're looking at being tied on points, hopefully that'll pull us through.
in a
Uh,
standing no favour.
I think that
minus 30.
Lions game could be massive at the end because Lions now have got 4 home games left with us to finish. So they got Benetton this weekend, then they've got Connacht the week after, then they've got the Scarlets and then us,
Hmm.
all at home. They're only on
Let's
30
hope they
points at the
beat them
moment
up
with
for
four home
us.
games to go. You would expect them to get maximum points against Benetton this weekend. Connacht, I can't see travelling particularly strongly for their tour either. So I think the Lions, when it comes down to that game against us, depending on how we get on the next fortnight, could end up being a defining game potentially for
Crucial.
both teams. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I do think Judgment Day is going to be important. While we're talking about Judgment Day, if any Ospreys fans want to meet up, then the Supporters Club is going to be in the Bluebell on High Street from around about midday. Food and drinks are available. There's a breakfast menu and a lunchtime menu there. I'm reliably informed. So if anybody's that end of Cardiff, then feel free to pop in and say hello to the OSC. Um, Talking of Jamie from Rap, I listened to the Rap pod this afternoon and Dragon's Lair. I love Jamie. He, they were talking about Cardiff.
I thought
Uh,
you were just going to finish it there then, Sam. I thought you
no,
just brought that up just to go, I love Jamie.
I do love Jamie. Jamie probably doesn't know I exist, but the yeah, he probably does know I exist, doesn't he? Um, but they were talking about the whole Cardiff debacle, and he was very much in the same vein as us, which is our hearts go out to the majority of Cardiff supporters, the players, the backroom staff, but there are some people we could give zero about. Um, and I love that they brought up the fact that they've gone into absolute meltdown, changed their name on Twitter, and completely deleted their entire Twitter history.
Yeah.
I also like that they gave our friend Ron on Twitter a shout out to say Ron has been talking about this for ages. And he got poo-pooed by these
Yeah,
particular Cardiff accounts. And do you know what? Ron was right.
he was.
Um, so Ron's not the only one who knows how to read HMRC records. But that's my little bit of Schadenfreude.
It must
done.
be hard for Dragons fans to forgive on this one because they spent a long time listening to Cardiff fans baying for blood
Yeah.
when they went into WRU ownership. And it must be very, very difficult for them, especially to keep quiet and to try and be um, fair and
You'd want
not
to put the boot into certain people, wouldn't you?
exactly. Yeah, yeah, you would, you would.
I would. Um, so more's evolved about Cardiff now. Obviously, Sam Warburton's resigned from the board. There's lots going on. It's come out now that the Welsh Rugby Union takeover cost 780k. 300 of that was debt. The remainder to purchase the club. And they suspect that they're going to put 1.2 million into the club until June 2026, which means that they'll be getting 2 million over the next year. Um, what they've said is they're not taking over the debt. Cardiff remains responsible for the debt, and the administrators will deal with that. But the interesting thing about that is, I suppose, for us, it creates questions with the other regions of, if you're putting this 2 million into them,
Hmm.
what are we getting?
Where's ours?
I think Richard Collier-Keywood has perhaps shot himself in the foot a little bit by saying yesterday that the other regions had until like close of business today to sign the PRA. But obviously, I think what's happened with Cardiff last week has got questions for the other clubs
Mm.
around funding, because I think that extra funding and wanting to know, are you going to spend the same on them, is going to perhaps create a little bit of friction behind closed doors, maybe. Um,
I'm guessing that PRA hasn't been signed by 5 o'clock today because there's been nothing online to
Not seen
indicate there has
it
been. So,
online, because obviously the PRA was about writing COVID debt off, about pumping money in, about benefactors and everything else. Well, the Welsh Rugby Union is the benefactor now, isn't it? So for
mm.
me, it's whether there's a conflict of interest there. Um, but I'm glad that they've not folded. I'm glad that we've still got 4 regions. Nobody would want to see anybody fold in that way, would they? But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the next couple of weeks,
Yeah.
months, maybe. Um, no director of rugby announced last week, which was anticipated. And we've now got Steve Tandy, the Scottish former Ospreys coach, being touted as the new Welsh coach. How are we feeling about that?
I mean, he knows the Welsh game is the positive about it, I suppose. He's not a name where everybody's going to go, "Oh, we've got Steve Tandy, that's amazing." It's not that kind of appointment. But I suppose he does know the Welsh game inside out.
It's just a new name every week at the moment, so I'm almost
Mm.
not paying attention to it. There's a new favourite every week. If you watch the bookies, it's constantly changing. I think there's just some Wales Online intern from like Bridgend College or something sat outside the Vale just making notes of who's walking in and out of the doors, and
Uh,
every time there's just a meeting or an interview, he's going, "Oh, right, they're going to be the next head coach." So I'm
It's
not
our
paying that
version
much.
of Rossi's, isn't it? Or it's their version of
I've
Rossi's.
seen so parked
Teams
outside
were parked
Rossi's
outside
with a
Rossi's.
personalised number plate.
Yeah. I just wish they'd stop making promises though, but oh, we'll be able to announce it in a few days, in a few days, in a few days, in a few days
Yeah.
comes goes. We wish they'd just say you'll know by the end of the season. And then if they do want
Yes.
to
Yeah.
announce it sooner and they've got it finished, great. If they haven't, then stop just dangling it all the time, saying, "I'll be next week,
It's
next week,
just
next
really
week."
bad PR, isn't it? It's
It is,
amateur.
yeah. Yeah.
It's constant over promising and under delivering. Like
And it kind of
Yeah,
makes it sound as if they don't quite know what they're doing either. They're like they've got somebody that's nearly over the line, and are they sort of losing candidates at the last minute that they're
yeah.
having to go back to plan B, plan C?
yeah.
Who knows?
Or they're naive and they're you're naive to the expectations, or they're bad at reading signals, or yeah, I don't know what it
It's
is.
just mad, isn't it? But did you two listen to the Scrum 5 pod that Abby Tierney did
With
with
Colin Cleveland as well.
Collier keyword last week
Did
when we
yeah,
were talking about budgets.
yeah,
50 grand a year on flowers, just to put
Well,
flowers in the boxes.
I
mad.
was gonna say, like, they don't need to come up with all these debt writing off solutions for saving Cardiff from the brink. Cardiff should just, in the off season, in the lovely weather through our Welsh summers, should grow 50 grand's worth of flowers on the turf and sell it to the
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
WIA.
send them
Pay
to
it back
next
in
door.
installments.
Um, it did give me some reassurance that she's obviously looked at it from top to
mm.
bottom because she was saying nobody gave like the Rugby World Cup a budget.
No.
No,
And they went, what,
Nobody
20%
commit, they
over,
went
30%
20%
over?
over.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like, how are you not making any money? Like this is why you're not
mm.
making money.
Just hand
Um,
over the credit card. Here you go, have fun, guys.
yeah,
yeah, like off
Literally
you
what
go,
it is.
mate.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Funnily enough, I watched the Stick to Rugby pod with Flat Shanks, Lawrence Delalio, and I can never remember her name, but I think it's Kate from the Red Roses. And Lawrence Delalio had like an England credit card, a black credit card, and two people were leaving the coaching setup, and he said to Austin Healy, "Get me." Get me gifts for them. So Austin Healy went shopping and bought them 25 grand watches each. And Lawrence Delalio was like, I am not going to get that past Woody. It's not going to happen. He was like, Austin, you're going to have to take them back. And Austin was like, I can't, mate. I've had them engraved.
Oh wow.
That tickled me last week. That did.
Yeah.
Um, but
They
again,
were very
talking
open
about,
in the interview, to be fair, weren't they? They were honest, they were
yeah,
open. Collie Keywood obviously knew what he was talking about in terms of the finances. It was quite reassuring in that respect that they seemed to finally have a handle on some of what's gone wrong in terms of the budgets and financing side of it. And then we had the publication of the much waited for, whatever you call it last week,
The review
the
squared.
review of the review of the review of the review.
yeah,
Report, which again makes for interesting reading. There's a lot in there that you think, yeah, okay, if you can achieve all this, fantastic.
one
Whether
day.
it is achievable or not, I don't know. It's like when a new government comes in and they promise in, over the next 4 year period, we're going to do this and this and this, when half of the promises are, to be done in 10 years' time or whatever.
Pie in the sky.
Who knows?
Well, that's a good analogy, Mark, because what a new government typically does, isn't it, is they come in and they do all the ugly stuff first. They do the unattractive, unpopular stuff first, because then they've got 4 years
The
to
easy
build up
wins.
good credit again. Yeah,
Yeah.
and do the more pleasing, softly stuff. So, um, thinking about that analogy, have we seen enough drastic action since the new administration come in? It doesn't feel like they've gone
No,
tearing things up
no, they
and
haven't. Yeah.
rewriting stuff. No, no, it's something's just clicked in my mind there. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
That's okay. Well,
Trying to think what was in there. Sorry, Sam, go on.
they've saved 5 million for the
Yeah.
hubs, but it's 5 million. It's not when you think of what they spend and the running costs, 5 million's a drop in the ocean.
And that's just on the hub officers, isn't it? I mean, obviously, working in a school, we've got a hub officer local to us, but he's covering the whole of the Newtown area. So he's got, 9 or 10 primary schools, massive high schools, special schools that he's trying to cover himself. And we've got to try and grow the game in areas like Mid Wales where it isn't the main sport, but there's some very keen clubs who are trying to grow things. And for me, pulling the hub offices out of somewhere like Mid Wales is just mad, really. North Wales as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
South Wales, fair enough. You've got more rugby in schools, you've got more expertise in schools across South Wales. But I think in North and Mid Wales, the hub officers have been fantastic, and it's a real shame.
we need
But
to
they
branch
also
north.
they also did they not follow up on that comment by saying that they would be, replacing it with, or not replacing it, but doing something else in its place that's engagement based. Well,
Yeah,
then it's not all savings if then
No,
two
then they're
million
spending
of that
money again.
5 million is going to go into an equivalent but maybe slightly scaled back
Yeah,
project. Like, well, then we're talking about even less money. It's only 3 grand. It's
yeah.
it's not all clear, is it?
I mean, something I heard over the weekend on the Egg Chasers podcast, which isn't my favorite podcast in the world, but I will have a listen now and again. And they were talking about Leinster's budget, so talking about the Welsh region's budget growing to 6.5 or whatever it's going to be from next season. Um, Leinster's budget has been sort of calculated conservatively at about 16.5 million wages wise.
It's insane.
And they've got 31 full internationals in that squad.
Mm.
So it's no wonder that they can put out two 15s that can beat pretty much any team across Europe. They've won their two European knockout games by an aggregate of 114 points to nil. And that's what we're expected to compete against. And that's
Yeah,
what the union are trying to get us to a level where we can compete against the likes of Leinster and, Munster have got a slightly less budget, but even the English clubs have got a much higher budget. The French clubs certainly have it. Like you said earlier on, Rod, about Lyon's being 14,
40
15,000 or whatever
million.
it is. You know, 6.5 isn't going to cut it against those teams now. Those teams' budgets are going to increase as well year on year. So the gap is going to remain exactly the same, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I listened to the Cardiff Rap podcast last week, and I thought it was really good with the chair of the CF10 Trust. Everybody spoke, really, really well. You had me, guys, until you said Cardiff should be the Leinster of Wales. Come on now. Look, I know you're the capital city and everything, but behave yourselves.
What was their basis for that? In
It's the
terms of the
capital
success
city.
that they've had over the past 15 years, have they sort of
Capital
been
city.
tearing up trees in terms of doing much better than the Welsh regions over the
But
last
it's the
10,
capital
15, 20 years?
city. Remind me next time you're with me and John's with me, ask John about capital cities. Cardiff makes John twitch. Obviously, being Scottish, Edinburgh's their capital city. John will always say to you, they haven't even got a real castle. Drives John insane. He's like, that's not a proper capital city. And then he goes into the history of how Cardiff was made the capital city. So it does quite amuse me when John goes off on a tangent on that one. But talking about Welsh rugby coffers, um, talked about Judgement tickets, but they've released the pricing structure today for the autumn internationals. Did you know? And this is how a headline gets sold to. These groups of people can get discounts on their autumn international tickets. Went into the article. Yeah, if you sign up to become a member of the Welsh Rugby Union, you get a fiver off your ticket. Cheers, lads. Basic ticket cost, you're looking at 110 quid for a NAF ticket. Guys, come on now, it's a working man's sport. Can't expect people to go out with themselves and their kids and spend 500 quid on rugby tickets for the day. They
For
can't
the
afford
for
to
the
leave their
Autumn
house.
International now as well, like
Yeah,
context as well. Yeah.
So they will sell out the All Blacks, won't they? But I can't see them at those prices selling out any other game in the autumn, to be honest.
I went to the 2022 All Blacks game with my brother. I've never been so depressed in my life. And I
Yeah.
love the All Blacks, but even I was like, yeah, I can't watch this. But
You would hope that they would do the Japan and Argentina. Is it Japan and Argentina? That
yeah,
they would do
as a
those
cheaper.
games as a cheaper option. The Japan especially, Argentina maybe somewhere in between, with the two sort of prestige games at the highest cost. Otherwise, no family's going to go to any of the games in the autumn, are they? So
No.
The reality is you're not gonna like I'm gonna sound like a granny now. But for us who want to go and watch the sport, I got a sheep hat, so I can't call the daffodil heads nothing. But for the people who go and have like a grand old jolly and a piss up and they're up and they down and they're up and they down, I can't deal with that in the stadium. That kind of fries me a little bit. So you'll always get that element there, and good for you. You go and you enjoy. Do you know what? Go and watch your local rugby. Go and watch your region as well if you're gonna do that, because those 80,000, put your money in the grassroots of the game and in your regions. I'll get off my soapbox now. Oh, I forgot earlier on when we were talking about the Leon game. The Leon coach got red carded and got escorted off the side of the pitch.
Did he?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He picked up the halfway flag, and threw it on the pitch.
What?
Yeah, threw it on the pitch. The officials had to manhandle him
Really?
off
Over
the
God, I didn't see
what?
that.
What got him angry?
Um, they were down in the corner. He was locking at one. It was in the second half. They were locking at the big screen for something. Looked like there was possibly going to be a penalty against them, and he lost his shit. He picked the halfway flag up and threw it onto the pitch in absolute rage. So the URC officials escorted him off.
Did
Wow.
not see that. Did
I
not
may
see
or
that.
may not have called him a cheese-eating surrender monkey. Maybe, maybe. But I forgot all about that until just now. But he got proper
That's
rage. Um, Other news this week.
just before when you said talking about grassroots rugby, I thought that'd just be a nice segue to say that Bridgend Ravens have got their final Super Rugby Cymru game of the season this Thursday at 7:30, obviously at the brewery against
Nice.
Llandovery. So yeah, support your local team. Get down
Go
and
there,
watch
support
that.
them, have
Yeah,
some nice street food because the street food there is lovely.
yeah, and it's an
Um,
affordable night out of rugby,
yeah,
like what we've been discussing.
yeah, nice food as well, and it's not that expensive
Yeah.
when we've had street food when we've gone up there. Um, Osprey's PR team has done another cracker this week with re-signing
Yeah.
with a WWE
Oh, yes.
Undertaker.
Undertaker. Yeah, enjoy that one.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
They're just, you know, he was just great.
I want to see at the end of the season a compilation of all of them just back to
That'd be
back
good. Yeah.
because I've
Yeah,
forgotten about half of them probably, and they're impossible to go scrolling back through their social media page to find it because there's just so much on there.
Harry
So
Duke's
yeah,
Twin Town is my favourite.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's a really
Absolutely.
good shout. Yeah,
Um, they've just been so good. But then you've got the one is the loneliest number.
yeah,
That
Amazing.
was good as
that
well, yeah.
was
They've all been brilliant, to be fair.
top notch.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Other news, our WhatsApp channel and our community is growing. We've had more people join. We've had some fan art.
Yeah,
Um,
that was good.
Nora, who we speak to on Twitter as Raina, has introduced herself. And Nora's come to rugby quite late on, like Welsh rugby quite late on. So hello, Nora. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for picking Welsh rugby and thanks for picking the best team in Wales. Um, Nice to have you part of the family. Again, we'll put the links and stuff up for the community. We've been having some nice chats and banter on there. News-wise, can anybody think of anything else?
Well, has anybody seen much of the European games this weekend? I mean, there was some
No.
absolute blowouts again across the competition. Leinster we talked about earlier on. Munster got blown away early by oh gosh, who did they even play? I can't remember who they played.
I can't remember.
It's
Our
gone.
game. Oh,
I
it
was out
was.
I was out Friday having my nails done. I got
Oh,
home 20 minutes into the first half. John was
was
so
it
happy.
Northampton Friday night? Was it
What
Munster
Northampton
Northampton?
was really good, but it was
Northampton played really well. I've seen a lot of criticism of Henry Pollock's showboating since Friday. I have to say I'm not hugely offended by it, to be honest. Rugby needs characters.
we
Um,
need to try celebrations, I think.
exactly. I don't know whether you saw it, Rod. He sort of
I
slowed down,
didn't.
about to score, sort of waited until the defender nearly got to him, and then sort of just plonked the ball down. And then he did
Mm.
sort of a basketball shot celebration
Yeah,
um, at the
I
player pretty much afterwards or whatever. It was just a youngster having a nice time on the pitch, expressing himself.
I don't
Um,
mind that. It's when it's if they celebrate, in somebody's face.
Face.
yeah,
If they're gonna run past somebody and go,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
that's probably the line. But yeah, celebrate how you want.
We haven't
Even
seen any
cheer
other
them on in the
characters in the
process.
game it got me thinking about somebody like Mark Ring back in the day. I remember watching him in a game I went to see at Neath, I think, at one point, and he did a conversion by doing it by doing it like a back heel drop goal, and it was like just again
Unnecessary.
showboating the game was won or whatever, and there's and their fans are going nuts as you can imagine about it, and
But can
but
you imagine though, Harry Deeves loves his lawnmower. Like if he scored a try, he could do a lawnmower celebration.
yeah,
Like, couldn't he? So
Yeah.
when you think of it, they could, like, everybody could have their own personalized sort of like Jack Walsh could bounce like a kangaroo,
I bet Cassende would have a good one, wouldn't he?
roar like a
He'd have something
lion.
up his sleeve.
Um,
something to do with posting, wouldn't it have to be like a
yeah,
postman Pat celebration or
or
something?
do his bag like, you know. Um, but yeah, no, I was having my nails done on Friday and I needed help parking because it was a really small space and I'm shit at parking. And John came out and I went, I'm surprised you're not watching the rugby. He went, I am.
Oh,
I
Bordeaux
came
left.
in.
Sorry.
I was like, what's going on? He went, 14-0. He was done that and doing overtime watching on his laptop. I went, could you quite possibly please lock me in on the television down the bottom end of the living room? Me and the dog were just sat there like that at home. And when they start bouncing in, score tries, I was like, yeah, I might go for a bath now. Because he was not happy. He was savage.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
I
Considering it
tuned
was
into
a
that.
Champions Cup quarter-final games, we had three really lopsided games, and it was only the
yeah,
Toulon
Yeah.
Toulouse game that was close. So it just shows the disparity between
Yeah.
the top table and everybody else.
It's not good
yeah,
advert, is it? No, no,
No, not at all.
no. Any other news?
no.
No, no. So being a bit quiet. I think everybody's a bit despondent this week. So not really had many questions or comments really. Um, Geraint on our community has said, lost last weekend had people talking. What's the mindset now heading into Judgment Day? Do we go all out to try and get back to winning ways, rest some players after two hard European games? Also, what mindset is Cardiff in? Well, I think we spoke about that earlier on. Um, it's going to sound mean. I hope they're feeling dodgy mindset wise, Cardiff.
Yeah.
And I hope we're feeling a bit hurty. And we just go and do ourselves like off the back of the Scarlet crap this week, phenom next week. But I think some of our players do need a little bit of a rest.
Yeah. And they've obviously had a rest Cardiff because they didn't qualify for what was it, quarters. So they've had a nice week off to sort of recuperate. I know there's been a lot of mental strife for them in that time, but we all know that Matt Sherratt is capable of taking a team that are feeling a bit down and out and making them perform. So yeah, I'm pretty nervous about that one. But hey ho, yeah. Fingers
Well,
crossed.
I'll come down from my seats to your seats and we can sit next to each other and hold hands and sing Kumbaya if it's all going really badly wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And try a river together if it does go
Yeah.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be looking like sadness from
Inside
Inside
Out?
Out.
Yeah.
Love
If we
Inside
do
Out.
lose, my mental state will entirely hinge on the Dragons beating the Scarlets or not. Yeah,
Will you
yeah.
need a hug?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I can come down and do that. Um, I had a message today on Twitter from HRH, William, Prince of Wales. Not the
Yeah.
real one.
Was this one of these dodgy messages?
So that's
Hello,
him.
I've broken down in in
So that's
sketty.
him and Jason Statham now, who both
Well,
messaged me.
they've obviously seen you on or heard you on your sort of Wales Today interviews.
Well, I said, like they're going to be interested in a 47-year-old chubby feral rugby fan. And then John was like, that'll be a cracking Tinder bio. So can you imagine 47 chubby feral? Just swipe right to left on that one. Um, but yeah, so I'm obviously in with royalty now. You know, happy
Impressive.
days. Oh, can I just apologise to the Squidge and James as well because I disrupted their post-match reaction on Saturday as well by going over and giving them planting kisses on them. So I gate crashed their reaction pod.
Yeah.
It had to be done, really. But the rando of the week
Hit us.
is coming up.
I'm just impressed 30 weeks in, Sam, that you can still think of a rando question for us.
Absolutely.
And
Million
still
percent.
build in the suspense as you are.
Build the suspense.
And I still feel just as bad about it today as I did in the first episode.
It's like that.
Yeah.
What's she gonna do now? Um, so I thought of one earlier on, really. I was watching a program and someone got sent to prison. And I got to thinking to myself, I'd be all right in prison, you know. I think I'd be okay. I don't think I'd like struggle because let's face it, some of them get cooking privileges in their room. If you're really well behaved, you get like telly and whatever. You can do education while you're in there, so I could get another degree. I could go to the gym for free. I'm not worried about anybody beating me up because I'm hard as nails and I just make myself shank. I think I'd be running the ring within a week. How do you two
I think
think you do in prison?
I think it depends on the seriousness of the crime, isn't it? Have you, I don't know, gone a mass murdering spree and you're in solitary
Patty.
confinement? What do they call it? 23-1? 23 hours lockdown, one
Yeah,
hours out?
Patty.
That would be miserable. And I would not be keen for that. I mean, I wouldn't be keen for any of it. I like green too much. And I don't think you get a lot of green in prisons. And by that, I
Well,
mean nature, not drugs,
other green.
obviously. Um, so yeah, I don't think I'd fare too well, to be honest. I'd be on escape watch. That's what I'd be. I'd be on heavy lockdown because at any opportunity I'll be scaling walls and
Do you think you should be someone's bitch though?
no, 100% not.
No.
No.
Mark, would you survive prison?
I'd be happy for a bit of peace and quiet, to be honest.
You sound like Bilbo Baggins now, Mark. Time
Yeah.
to finish my book.
Exactly. I was watching a documentary about the Kinahan clan this last week on BBC. I don't know whether you've seen that, Sam. I know you like your true crime stuff. And it was one of them got locked up and they did 2 degrees while they were in
Yeah.
prison. They did a degree in French and a degree in Russian, which clearly was to make sure that they could then talk to other drug gangs when they came out of prison.
Oh, God.
However, yeah, I think I'd be that kind of prisoner. I'd sort of be quite studious probably and just do a lot of reading and enjoy the peace and quiet and the solitude a little bit and yeah, just embrace my inner solitude a little bit and
I can I can see
introvert.
you. I can see you doing that, Mark. You'd be the one with all the privileges, and you walk around when everyone's on lockdown with your little trolley cart of
Trolley and
books,
box.
Yeah,
passing them through the doors with other items hidden within. You'd be like
yeah,
little distributor.
yeah. That'd be me, I think. Yeah, just minding my own business, doing my own thing.
Honestly, the other thing that kind of made me think that this week, did anybody see those pensioners that house got raided by armed police?
No.
No.
Saw it on the news, and again, I like watch loads of true crime. Basically, heat-seeking cameras were around to see heat signatures on houses because you can see obviously if they've got the heat
Mm.
equipment to grow weed in your attic. But these pensioners have had a bit of a windfall, so they whacked the central heating up, and the police thought they were growing weed in their attic and raided their house with guns, armed guns.
Really?
And they like
Oh no.
it's myself laughing. But I totally, yeah, I could do prison. Piece of
If
piss.
that's not an advert for properly insulating your homes, then I don't know what it is.
I know it just absolutely. Do you know what? It that tickles me. It did tickle me. So I think I could probably do a stint. I'd be all right. I'd be like, yeah, don't mess with me. Go away. And yeah, I'd do a degree. I would do another degree. I'd probably do a degree in ancient history or something
You'd
like
have to
that.
find something to occupy your time, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I
That.
I couldn't not quite ADHD is not good with quiet contemplation.
Yeah.
So, but you can borrow books from the library, you can do a degree, you know, it's all good in the hood. Like happy days.
There we are.
So yeah, so we've discovered Rod would be no good in prison. Mark would be basically you'd control you'd be the quiet man in prison who would control everything, and then I would just be the out and out natter who nobody wants to go near.
Yeah, you'd be like my hatchet man, Sam.
Yeah, I'd be like what's her face? Be in prison a cell block H. Rod has no idea what we're talking about now. Used
No,
to bring
recognize
me
me.
roses. Set in an Australian prison, filmed in the 80s, and their sets used to do that. So
Yeah.
they pull the set, they pull the cell door, and the wall is doing that.
You
B
could have
ran the
broken out of that
laundry,
one
and if
easily, Rod, yeah.
yeah, B ran the laundry, and if you piss B off, then she'd put you in the steam iron press, and burn your hand or your face. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know
but
No,
how
well,
that
I've
became so popular because it was on at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something,
stupid
wasn't it?
o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um,
hmm.
did you watch any of Lower Low Rod?
No, I haven't. I
Oh.
I
must
sent you
admit.
some clips, absolutely banging.
Okay. I'll scroll back and I find them because it did sound funny. I do need to educate myself.
Good
So I will.
morning.
I will. I just forgot about it.
It's it's so good. It's almost along the lines of I loved Heidi High when I was little as
I was
well.
just about to say, because if you enjoy Alola, we'll then do Heidi High after that as well.
Heidi High, yeah. Good morning, campus. Gladys Pooh. I loved Heidi High. Um, and then they did Are You Being what was the one where they were servants in the big house?
Oh yeah. Um,
Something my lord or something like that.
yeah.
You
You
rang
rang
my
the
lord.
world. That's the one.
Yeah. So we'll educate you, young Rodri, in 80s sitcoms because some of them were pretty funny. You can be
Yes,
our
Mars.
pad one. But that is us for this week. That's been episode 30. Sorry it couldn't have been more of a celebration, but fingers crossed next week we're, excited.
Yeah.
Um, Plus, it's a long bank holiday weekend. So for those of you who have bank holidays, 4-day weekend. Brilliant. You know,
Yeah. I
absolutely
mean,
banging.
Mark's off on Easter break, so he's laughing at us.
I've
But
got about 2 weeks off, so I've just got holidays coming out my ears at the moment. It's lovely.
Nice. Well, normally I would say that it would be my duty to eat chocolate in the name of Jesus because it's what Jesus would have wanted. Do you know what I mean? However, I'm on a diet, so I'm not having any chocolate. Normally by now I've eaten my body weight in mini eggs. Not a fan of cream eggs, Cadbury's
Are
cream
you not?
eggs.
I like a cream egg.
I
No,
don't. Too sweet.
no.
All sugar.
How do you eat?
That's the
Do you
point, isn't
do
it?
you like
I bite off the top and lick out the middle.
in the middle? Yeah, most normal people do that. Like most normal people do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I do love a mini egg, and I love feeding the dog mini eggs because she doesn't really know what to do with them. She's a bit like crunchy. What do I do? Um, but enjoy your Easter. Have a lovely time. I hope the Easter bunny brings you whatever you're after. Um, Remember the cups with the eggs in when you were little?
Yeah.
Smarties, Kit Kat. Loved them. Had loads of those mugs. Um, so Rod's like, what? What's
Oh, I
going
had
on?
them.
Did
Uh,
you?
I got them in the cupboard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course I
Happy
have.
days. So, if you're good, then the Easter Bunny will bring you presents. If not, then he will bring you brazen pool. So
He'll
be
bring
good,
you
kids.
cream eggs
Yeah,
if
he'll
you
bring
know.
you cream eggs. So have a lush weekend. If you see us out and about in Cardiff, say hello. Rodri might stick you. I might pretend that I don't know my own name, but we'll probably have a hug and a picture. Rod will be like, Rod will stick you up. We'll probably have our hoodies on because I'll be giving them to Rod on the day. But have a fabulous weekend. Rod will put the socials on. If you like what you see, like, comment, share, subscribe, turn those alerts on so that every time we post an episode, you get notified. Once again, lads, nice comments on YouTube this week about what a lovely community we're building. Thank you. That's exactly what we want to do,
Definitely.
exactly what we're setting out to do. If we can just get the name Now My Little Feathers to take off, I'll be happy.
Can I
But
just spin round because I'm not going to be there on Saturday and I've had this t-shirt made especially for Saturday. So can I just go out
yeah,
today? Can I just go out today by saying Keith, 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 Keith.
Keith, Keith. Yeah. Rod's got a tips one. I got a Consendi one, all slightly different. So I might have that on Saturday as well. And I'm dressing like a girl on Saturday, so I'll have a dress and boots on. So if you see me, I'll be dressed like a girl, but I will probably have a Cassende t-shirt and a hoodie over it, so I'll look like an old bag. Ignore it. It's all good. But have a lush weekend, everyone, and we will see you next week.
I'm Line of Wales.